We're going to be cooking mashed potato today. So mashed potato isn't really isn't really an Indian cuisine as such. I don't exactly know which cuisine can you consider it. Let's look. Which mashed potato is a part of what cuisine? Mashed potato is British English. English. Um, yeah, it seems to be British English. Okay, so it's definitely not an Indian cuisine. It's originated in United Kingdom, but I'm going to give it a twist, and a little desi twist, a little Indian twist, and we are going to be adding curry leaves and garlic to flavor our mashed potatoes. So that's what we're going to do today. That's my spin on mashed potato. I've always been fascinated with the thought of mashed potato. I've seen it in many movies, many shows. You know, it's very common to see mashed potato in pop culture, and I was fascinated because I just saw so many people in shows and movies eating it, and I was like, how hard can it be to make it at home? So I set out one day, saw some YouTube videos on how to make mashed potatoes, made mashed potato for the first time at home, and it was a bit bland. The recipe that I followed, it was creamy, it was rich, but it was bland for my palate because we are used to spices and flavors, rich flavors in everything that we cook. So I thought about ways that I could improve the dish to suit the taste of me and my family. And then I ended up just, I didn't want to make it spicy. I didn't want to turn it into something completely opposite of what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be rich, creamy. It's supposed to be this smooth, silky thing that you can have as a side, you know? So I thought the best way to give it a little bit of more flavor, a bit more kick, and to make it more Indian would be to add curry leaves and garlic. So yeah, we'll jump into the prep and the hows and who's and where's. You know, let me put this up. So the first thing you will need is obviously potatoes. We're going to be cooking mashed potatoes, so you need potatoes. I have around a kilo of potatoes here that has have been boiled, peeled, and I mashed them thoroughly to make sure that there's no clumps or lumps of potatoes here and there. I didn't want chunks of potatoes in my mashed potato, so I mashed it thoroughly to make sure that there's no lumps or anything as such. It's just clear mashed potato. It already looks silky smooth, doesn't it? Then I have 100 grams of salted butter. This is just plain store bought butter. It contains salt, so when seasoning your mashed potatoes, you need to keep that in mind. Then here is what I'm going to be using to add my touch to this dish. This is some finely chopped garlic and some finely chopped curry leaves. So I have 8 cloves of garlic that have been finely chopped, and around 9 to 10 leaves of curry leaves that have been finely chopped. And I chop them together on a cutting board. What you do is just lay out your cutting board, bunch up your garlic and curry leaves, take your knife, and just keep going straight, then back, then straight, then back. And if you do that 10 to 15 times, it's all finely chopped quick. I love chives, cheese, and sour cream in my mashed potatoes, sometimes bacon. Hello, pickle. Hope you're having an awesome day. Garlic and butter are also good. I see. Chives and cheese sound good, and sour cream as well. I haven't tried sour cream, but I love sour cream in potato chips, so I think it'll be perfect in mashed potatoes too. So this is my seasoning, my choice of flavor, the garlic and curry leaves. So curry leaves, often used in curries. The name should be obvious. It imparts a really nice kick and a nice flavor to anything that you add. Actually, it doesn't need to be used specifically for curries only. You can use it in various rice dishes. You can use it. It needs to be cooked though. You can't just garnish it, but you can add it in any dish that you like. The little bit of the flavor that the curry leaf imparts. Hey Slushy, welcome. So that's some finely chopped garlic and curry leaves. Once again, exclamation mark recipe. If you want to know the written recipe, I have it all on a document. Everything that we are cooking. Next is some pepper, just some black pepper powder. Nothing special about the black pepper powder, and some salt. Pepper and salt are going to be our seasoning. Then I have some fresh cream here that we'll also be adding to our mashed potato. Amul is a very famous brand in India, so that's the brand that I use. But honestly, I don't think it makes any difference if you use any store-bought brand, you know. And if you make fresh cream at home, that's that's a win. And then you need some milk for our mashed potatoes. I had some milk boiling on one of my other stuffs, so I just poured in some. First, you heat up the cookware you're cooking in. So I placed it on high flame, made sure that my cookware is hot, and after it was hot, I added in my butter. And once you add in your butter, it's going to start sizzling, it's going to start melting. So you just got to melt all that butter, that whole slab of butter. The aroma that the butter gave out was absolutely delicious, you know. Just as the butter hit the pan, you could immediately smell it. Once you just like saute it for what, 20 seconds, and all the butter melts away, and it starts foaming, and butter burns quick, so make sure that you don't let it stay on high flame for long. In the hot butter, we are going to add in our finely chopped curry leaves and our garlic. So what this is going to do is the curry leaves and the garlic is going to flavor our butter, and that butter is going to be soaked in by our potatoes, and you're going to have this rich garlic and curry leaf flavor in every bite of your mashed potato. You saute your curry leaves and garlic until you notice that the garlic has lost its bright white color and has started turning golden brown. You don't need to fry them completely, you just need to make sure that it starts turning golden brown. I would love to see your take on a simple dish like a grilled cheese sandwich. Um, Pickle, it may not be a grilled cheese sandwich, but I am going to be making a sandwich, a chicken sandwich, later on in one of my scheduled days, with along with masala tea. So yeah, I think that's the closest that I can get to grilled cheese sandwich. It with food that's not Indian by nature, like that's not belonging to a cuisine, to bring it to a more favorable taste for us, or to make it suit our palate. Because I like trying food, I like experimenting food. I go out, I eat a lot of uh, European food, eat a lot of Mexican food. I try out many different dishes. But when I cook at home and when we are cooking for my family, we have to work around with flavors and taste that all of us like. So when I'm cooking something and introducing it to them, like say for example, we make this version of pasta at home that includes a lot of Indian spices, and it's not creamy, it's spicy. A pasta that you take a bite and you feel the spice, you feel the heat. So you know, we just do minor changes, not anything major, that gives a lot of flavor that people are used to, something that they can relate to, and then they enjoy the dish more. So that's the idea behind this as well. Introducing mashed potato to the palate by just the curry leaf and garlic. So here I just keep checking for my garlic, and once I notice that it started to turn into golden brown, I add in the mashed potatoes. Once you add in your mashed potatoes, you need to mix it well with the butter and the garlic and curry leaves. You know, everything needs to be mixed properly. It's going to be a bit difficult because your mashed potatoes are going to need some time to smoothen out, but just keep stirring it, just keep mixing, and you should, in say 4 to 5 minutes, have it be easier to stir it in your cookware. So what I do is I just take my ladle to the center of the potato and keep keep churning it, keep turning it clockwise and counterclockwise. So slowly the parts of the center move out towards the side, and these parts of the side keep coming into the center. So I do this for close to 5 to 6 minutes. I keep stirring it, and the butter that has been used, all the rich butter, the butter that is infused with garlic and curry leaves flavor gets soaked in by the potato in this process. And now you can see the potato has reached a nice consistency. It won't be really hard to stir the potato around at this stage, because it's taken the garlic, it's taken the butter, I mean, and it's become really smooth to turn around, whip around. And after around 8 minutes, I add in 300 milliliters of warm milk and around 3 tablespoons of fresh cream. Once I add in my cream and milk, I add in salt. I use salted butter, so I'm going to keep a check on the amount of salt I add so that it's not over salted. And then I'm going to add in around 2.5 teaspoons of pepper. I don't really take a spoon here. I just eyeball the amount of pepper that I'm using, but I do know that it comes up to approximately 2.5 tablespoons. There's a lot of things that if I'm cooking for my family, I would not be really keeping a strict count of tablespoons or teaspoons and such. I just eyeball the amount because by this time I know just how much is required for a particular dish. But while you're telling someone how to cook something, I think it's very important to specify the amount of teaspoons or tablespoons, and then people can use the amount that suits them. I'm pretty sure not a lot of you would use the same amount of red chili powder or such that I use in my dishes. Once I add in my seasoning, milk, and fresh cream, I continue to stir my mashed potato. You got a lot of liquid in there. You got to thicken out the mashed potato, and you just keep stirring it. You just keep churning it until you reach the consistency that you like. So you can give it a twirl for say 4 to 5 minutes, and if it reaches the consistency you like, that's when you can take it off the heat. And if you like it thicker and if you like the consistency to be denser, you keep stirring it on without a lid on to continue to thicken it out, and you'll get a thicker mashed potato. Panda making me hungry. I'm glad, Slushy. I'm glad. Anytime someone says that, it's a compliment to me. So this is when I check the smoothness and the consistency that I want in my mashed potatoes. I don't want it to be too tough. At the same time, I don't want it too runny. So I continue to stir it for a bit more. And once it reaches the consistency that I'm happy with, I turn off the stove and I let the mashed potatoes rest for a few minutes before serving them. And once my mashed potato is over, I'm going to be cooking or making mint chutney. So you may have heard the word chutney a lot. It's a sort of a dip, and there are various different types of chutneys that you have with various different types of food. You can have chutneys made out of coconut, made out of mango, made out of groundnut. There's a lot of different kinds of chutneys that you can make, and it's very famous as an something that accompanies you with breakfast. People use that as a dip for dosa, idli, a lot of various dishes. So this is a mint chutney that I'm going to be making. It's very refreshing. It's very fresh. You can basically dip your nachos, dip your chips in the mint chutney and get like a really fresh kick from the mint and from the coriander and the lemon that we're going to be using. So for this mint chutney, I've taken 2 bunches of mint and 1 bunch of coriander. So that's like 2 parts mint, 1 part coriander. If you're weighing it in grams, it would be like if you take 100 grams of mint, you'll be taking 50 grams of coriander. Just double the amount of mint to the amount of coriander you use. And that's the base of this dip, of this chutney, mint and coriander. You'll be washing your mint and coriander leaves and then drying them out and transferring them to a blender. Once it's in the blender, you'll be adding some fresh curds, thick curds or yogurt. The yogurt doesn't need to be flavored. It needs to be just plain yogurt. You don't want it to be flavored. You'll be adding in approximately 500 milliliters of fresh yogurt. If you want a thicker dip, if you want a thicker chutney, reduce that amount of yogurt by 100 and 150 milliliters. So if you want a thick dip, you can add in, say, 350 milliliters of yogurt, but I'm adding in around 500 milliliters of yogurt because I'm going for a really thin, runny dip that can mainly be used as topping to a lot of dishes that I make too, like boiled eggs. You can basically boil eggs, take this mint chutney over it, just pour some generously and eat, and you have boiled egg flavored with mint, and it's delicious. It just turns something as simple as a boiled egg into something really flavorful and tasty. Once you add in your curds, you're going to add in salt. Salt is to taste, so it's according to your taste, the seasoning. And after I add in salt, we're going to add in some chaat masala. Now this is not homemade. This is store bought. It's basically something that you find on a lot of Indian tables. You sprinkle it over snacks. That's why it's called chaat. It's basically sprinkled over street food or snacks, but it gives a really nice flavor to your mint chutney. It gives what is the proper flavor? If you've ever eaten street food, Indian street food especially, you would get a really, what we call it, chatpati, or the English translation would be tingling, a tingling kind of feeling in your mouth that comes from this specific masala. So it's a pre-made mix of a lot of spices that comes packed in something called Chaat Masala. You should be able to get this in your local store or an Indian store. You add around... Ooh. Dana, thank you so much for that host. Thank you so much for the host. Welcome. I just told everyone how to make mashed potatoes with an Indian twist, and now I'm telling them how to make a mint chutney or a mint dipping. Welcome. Thank you so much for your host. I appreciate it. So you add in 3 teaspoons of this chaat masala. And once you add in your salt and chaat masala, it's time to grind everything in your blender. This takes about 2 minutes. Grinding all of it takes 2 minutes, and it should turn into a really nice runny dip. Or if you've put in less amounts of curds, it would be a little thicker. But you need to grind it. You need to grind it until it's. Hey, Zonius, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. You're actually really good at explaining food. Well, thank you. I try my best. So you need to grind this until it reaches the consistency that you want it. It usually takes 2 minutes, not more, and you can listen to the grinder. The right time for your stream, it's lunchtime in Germany. Dana, thank you so much. Well, I'll show you the mashed potatoes that we cooked too. And here you can hear my grinder. So let's have some grinder ASMR. So that goes on for a couple of minutes until it reaches the consistency that I want. And yeah, after that it's ready. Just one more step. While your chutney or while your dip is still in the grinder, you want to check for seasoning. Check for salt, check for chaat masala. If you need more salt in there, if you need more chaat masala in there, this is the right time to add it. So I taste it and I notice that I need some more chaat masala. I add in the chaat masala and then I move on to adding lemon juice. You need the juice of 1 lemon, so I'm just squeezing out a lemon right there. I don't really care about the lemon seeds going in, so I let the seeds drip in as well. If you do not want the seeds in your dip, you can filter them out. And you don't need to blend it anymore. You just need to give it a nice little mix while it is in your grinder after you add in the lemon. So what this does is To the existing mint and coriander flavor, you add in a bit more zestiness. You add in some acidity. You add in some freshness from the lemon. So you're packing this sauce, this chutney, this dip with a lot of freshness. So when it hits your mouth, you take it, you're tasting a lot of goody freshness. And if you bunch this up with something fried like chips, I'm not talking about French fries, but potato chips, just your regular chips or nachos or something. You have something salty and fried with you, and you dip it in this minty goodness, good freshness, and you eat it. You just get a burst of flavors in your mouth, and it makes you feel a little less guilty about eating some fried, unhealthy food, basically. So mix up what you just put in, the lime juice, the seasoning, and here it is served. You get the mashed potatoes that we made earlier, which is infused with flavors of garlic and curry leaves. That's the mint chutney, and then just as some sides, you have some wafers and some fried vada, or just some. How would I explain vada in English? Um, Hold on, vada. It's How do I say that in English? That's one thing. Vada is a savory fried snacks from India. Well, there you go. It's a savory fried snacks. That's what Google says. Um, it's made up of a few different things like groundnut, onions, and stuff, and then fried together into this flat kind of chips shaped thing. Hey, Pity. So it goes really well with the mint dip that we just made, and then you have a serving of mashed potatoes to make a good snack or a quick breakfast, um, depending on when you're eating it. We ate it as snacks because our breakfast is usually a little bit uh, on the heavier side, but that's I think it suits as a snack quite well. It's filling, it's delicious, it's fresh, and yep. Look at that food. Thank you, thank you. So yep, that's my take on mashed potatoes. So not the traditional mashed potatoes, but a bit of Indian touch to it. I'm getting very hungry. When I started getting hungry when I was cooking this mashed potatoes, while it was at this stage, while I was mixing it, I had to mix it for a long time, and I was giving my arms a really good workout because I had to keep rotating it, stirring it, mixing it, or however whatever you use the right word for it, churning, I guess. So as I was churning it, the aroma of the butter and the potatoes and the garlic was just like it was right there, and I was getting so hungry while I was at this specific process of cooking. Then when I added the milk and such, it killed a bit of the garlic aroma, so it was easier to cook it through. And when it got to the consistency that I wanted, ooh, I couldn't wait to eat. I just couldn't wait to eat.